The rise of the Islamic Caliphate in the 7th century CE dramatically reshaped the political, cultural, and religious landscapes of the Middle East, North Africa, and parts of Europe. For Jewish communities, the emergence of the Caliphate under Muslim rule brought significant changes. While the experience of Jews under the early Caliphate varied depending on the region, ruler, and local dynamics, their lives were shaped by the legal framework of Islamic governance and the socio-economic realities of the time. The legal framework, dhimmi status. Under Islamic rule, Jews, along with Christians and other non-Muslim monotheists, were granted the status of dhimmi. This designation provided protection and certain rights, including the ability to practice their religion, own property, and manage their internal affairs. However, it also came with obligations. Jews were required to pay the jizya, a special poll tax for non-Muslims, and adhere to regulations that distinguished them from the Muslim majority. The dhimmi system was rooted in the Quranic principle of tolerance for people of the book, al-Kitab, which recognized the Jewish and Christian faiths as preceding Islam. In return for their submission to Islamic rule and payment of the jizya, dhimmis were afforded protection, aman, and often lived in relative security compared to their experiences under some pre-Islamic empires, such as the Byzantine or Sasanian. Economic and social roles. Jewish communities in the early Caliphate were active participants in the economic life of the empire. They often engaged in professions such as trade, craftsmanship, medicine, and finance. In cities like Baghdad, Fustat, Old Cairo, and Cordoba, Jewish merchants played key roles in long-distance trade networks, facilitating the exchange of goods and ideas across the Islamic world. In addition to their economic contributions, Jewish scholars and intellectuals thrived under Muslim rule. Arabic became the lingua franca of the Caliphate, and many Jews mastered the language, contributing to fields such as science, philosophy, and medicine. Figures like Saadia J. in 882 to 942 CE, a prominent Jewish scholar, exemplify the intellectual flourishing of Jews during this period. Saadia translated the Hebrew Bible into Arabic and engaged in philosophical discourse, often drawing on Islamic thought. Religious life and challenges. The Caliphate allowed Jewish communities to maintain their religious practices and institutions, including synagogues, schools, and courts. However, their autonomy was not absolute. Jewish religious leaders had to navigate the expectations of the Muslim authorities and ensure that their communities adhered to the broader legal and social norms of the Caliphate. While generally tolerated, Jews did face occasional discrimination and restrictions. Laws sometimes mandated distinctive clothing or limited the construction of new synagogues. In rare cases, local outbreaks of anti-Jewish sentiment or specific policies by rulers, such as the Fatimid Caliph al-Hakim's 996 to 1021 CE, harsher decrees, posed challenges to Jewish life. Regional variations. The experience of Jews in the early Caliphate was not uniform. In Persia, for example, Jewish communities often benefited from the tolerance of local Islamic rulers, who relied on their administrative skills. In North Africa, Jewish populations adapted to the Berber and Arab influences, with some communities flourishing in trade and intellectual pursuits. In Al-Andalus, Islamic Spain, particularly under the Umayyad Caliphate, Jews experienced a golden age of cultural and intellectual achievement, producing luminaries such as the poet and philosopher Judah Halevi and the polymath Maimonides. Conclusion. Life for Jews in the early Caliphate was marked by a combination of opportunity and constraint. The dhimmi system allowed for a degree of religious and cultural continuity, while the expansive Islamic empire created new possibilities for economic and intellectual engagement. Despite occasional challenges, the early Caliphate provided a relatively stable and dynamic environment for Jewish communities, setting the stage for some of their most significant cultural and intellectual achievements.